You know, to be fair to the guy, he said he was going to get to his second contract, not through his second contract. Psychos and sickos unite for a free agent frenzy edition of PHNX Suns, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations, but we're all participating in a free agent frenzy. It's Eric, Gerald, Steven, the Freckled Mamba, aka Juice Man, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. But of course, the most important people, all of you joining us live in chat, whose names I cannot read anymore because it got changed to the @ and it just confuses me, listening on audio, and of course joining us on YouTube after the fact. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. 5-star reviews go a long way. There is a lot for us to go over in Suns land. Free agency starts in just about 13-ish minutes, and a jam-packed weekend of NBA news. How are we feeling, gentlemen?
Feeling good, feeling recharged after a busy KD trade and draft week. And now we're looking ahead to free agency, which I got to be honest, I don't know if frenzy is the word that's going to apply to today. But we appreciate all of you being in here with us just in case stuff does hit the fan.
You got to sell the show, Gerald. Come on. It's going to be crazy, right, Steven? That was the wrong person. That was the wrong person to kick it to.
Literally the
wrong
worst person.
Wrong person to kick it to.
What you was expecting?
No, that's actually exactly what I was expecting.
KYP.
How are you doing?
I think there will
Steven?
be a surprise, maybe potentially not necessarily a loud one, but maybe a surprise one that has impact that people may not expect from that person. We'll see.
I'm excited. Obviously, the Chris Paul rumors have been flying. There are some other free agents we'll go through here, and of course, once news simmers in from the NBA landscape, we'll bring it to you live here. But first things first, some news from over the weekend, most of it Suns related, some former Suns related. We would be remiss, Gerald, if we did not bring up the fact that Deandre Ayton got bought out by the Portland Trailblazers.
25.5 M's?
Dude,
Yeah.
bought out before the end of his second contract. All signs are pointing that he signs with Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers.
That would be crazy. The dreams that we had of Luka and DA somehow being together on the same team are coming together for LA.
Purple.
That's that's a lot of money there to get a guy to not play for your team. I mean, the writing was on the wall with all the centers that they had. They're the only team in the NBA that has more centers than the Suns right now. But like, it's kind of crazy how far his stock has fallen. And I feel for the guy on a personal level because DA as a human being is a phenomenal human being. So I hope he's able to contend and look like a better player on a more competitive team. But for all the people that were saying, in Portland, he's going to be able to be a guy and he's going to be able to show what he can do, it just hasn't materialized. DeAndre Ayton is who DeAndre Ayton is at this point.
Yeah. That was very surprising news. I never thought that was on the table.
No.
And if it's on the table for some, I wonder if it's on the table for others. That's not the topic at hand.
It will be soon enough.
Give it 5 minutes.
I think this is probably the best case scenario for him to at least attempt to rebuild his stock.
Mm-hmm.
He likely gets an opportunity on a winning or a team that has championship aspirations to rebuild that stock. His numbers should look better because of it. And if mentally he's there for that team, he shouldn't be anything less than an impact starter for them.
Well, if is doing a lot of weight in that sentence.
Yeah.
The numbers have never been the problem with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, we could do a whole We could do a whole show on that. I mean, he averaged 14 and 10 in Portland. 1.5 free throws per game, but 14 and 10 points and rebounds. The numbers have never been the problem. It's the effort. But honestly, I don't want to put a lot of effort into it. That moment is behind us. Gerald, you reported the Suns have no interest, obviously. It was your source, Common Sense.
Yes, two sources.
Two sources.
One source and one Common Sense source.
I can confirm via my own brain.
I thought one was Common and the other was Sense.
Yeah, Common is actually a really big
Common
Suns
breaking
fan.
NBA news would be crazy.
We have some other Suns news. Obviously, we'll get to some of the signings and or non-signings that the Suns have done. But first things first, Gerald, we got a statement from the Suns this morning. The Mark Williams trade is official, and there's a little more to it than what we knew about.
Yeah, they kind of wound up getting a 2029 second-round pick back from the Hornets that I don't think had been reported anywhere else. And if it had, I lost it in kind of the frenzy of all these trades that happened on draft night. But I didn't remember seeing that, and that kind of just snuck in there in the press release. But in terms of the statement from Brian Gregory, the Suns GM, Mark combines imposing size and length with a valuable skill set of finishing ability, rim protection, tough rebounding, and passing instincts. He also plays with a tremendous motor and brings intangible qualities that fit our team identity. His addition bolsters us at the center position, and we are excited to welcome Mark to Phoenix. One of 3 players last year to average at least 15 points, 10 rebounds, and shoot 60% from the floor.
Steven and I, we broke down best and worst case scenarios for him and all the draft picks on Friday. We're going to have a lot of time to dive into Mark Williams here. We're still less than 10 minutes away from free agency, so I think it's good to know that's official. Suns got a second-round pick back. I like that, but I still think that's not the biggest Suns news of the day. Steven, according to Shams, the Suns are re-signing Collin Gillespie on a 1-year guaranteed contract. It felt like this was a layup in the layup lines as far as easy decisions for Phoenix.
Yeah, it is a great bit of business. Keep a little bit of continuity amidst all of the changes that you have going on, both on the court and off the court. And having a blue-collar guy to start to build out what's likely your secondary part of your rotation for Jordan Knott, I think is a major plus. I think he's going to gravitate to somebody like Collin that simply does whatever he's asked to do.
Yeah, he really impressed with the limited time that he got, especially as the season wore on, and he proved that just playing with effort can make a difference on a team like this. Yeah. I would have liked for it to be a little bit longer than a 1-year deal. We're assuming that's probably going to come in around $2.3 million for the contract value there. But I do appreciate Collin taking kind of a chance on himself in that way. I think he's going to have a bigger role this year than we saw last year, especially because as of right now, he's the only traditional point guard on the roster. That could obviously change, and we'll talk about some options that we could look at for that. But whether he's a backup, whether he's a starter, whether he's a third string guy, I think he'll have a bigger role this season. He did really well last year. Very smart player. I know the Suns were really high on what they saw from him down the stretch.
I remember going into the end of the season, we were all just like, "Oh man, sign this guy to a guaranteed contract." You could argue he was at the end of the season one of the Suns' 5 best players, if not higher, on the court. No, like
he was
genuinely
literally starting.
He was starting, and obviously, I think even with the infrastructure that was around him at the end of last season, you saw him thrive. Now you look at this season to have, he's a smaller guard, but the effort on perimeter defense now will, in theory, if Maluach works out the way that we expect him to, even as a rookie, if Mark Williams can stay semi-healthy, Rasheer Fleming, Ryan Dunn takes a step, he might have a better infrastructure around him to succeed. Now, obviously, when you look at that big game, that like coming out party for him against the Clippers, it was his connection to Kevin Durant that really took that game over. But I do think that defensively, and even with Booker now taking more of a lead offensively without KD, you could argue you could see a better Collin Gillespie this year, which makes sense to me why he would want a 1-year deal and then hit free agency saying, this is what I did with a full body of work.
Yeah, and I have to look into it because I'm not sure if they're having him 2 straight years, they might have access to his bird rights and be able to sign him for a little bit more next summer if he plays well. So that might be something that factors in there. We'll see. I do hope that he's able to impress with more minutes because we know that last season the situation was pretty dire, and him coming in here and playing with effort and energy was just kind of the lowest of bars to clear. So by comparison, he looked fantastic, but he was legitimately good. And so I want to see what he looks like in the context of a much younger, much more athletic team, because the shooting, the ball handling, kind of the cerebral floor general approach that he brings to the table, on top of just kind of being scrappy defensively because he's a little undersized, those are all things that could contribute to him having a bigger role than he did last year.
Yeah, the Bird Rice potential, wasn't going to ask about that in particular, but just wondering if this was let's see what you got in a more organized and more concrete situation.
Yeah.
To then potentially revisit naturally once this contract expires, kind of like betting on himself in a sense.
I think it works for both sides.
Yeah.
You know, ironically enough, last season it was, hey, Collin Gillespie at Summer League I'm excited to play for this team. And then the Suns go out there and acquire Monte Morris and Tyus Jones. And you're like, okay, what is your spot here? Now, who knows, in 4 minutes from now, the Suns might sign another point guard, maybe a Chris Paul, a Russell Westbrook, maybe somebody else that we'll talk about to fill that guard role. But for him, I think even the Suns realize, like, we're actually going to carve out some space for you this time. And I don't think you would have wanted to hit the open market, because if I was a GM, I'd look at Collin Gillespie and say, okay, so you took advantage of the team being bad and, you know, injuries and whatever it is. Like, now I think going into the season, you can expect a little bit more from him. He's going to bet on himself. And you like having guys like Collin Gillespie in a contract year. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously, we'll break down his fit as we continue to move forward. But that wasn't the only news.
I'll say real quick, though.
Go ahead.
It says a lot that he stood out, and he's amidst a group of point guards like Monte and Tyus last season.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Monte part is... he deserved so much better last season, but for Collin to still stand out with those two veteran guys, and one of them not likely factored into when he was actually brought to the team, says a whole lot.
Yeah. He bet on himself, and he did it last season. It worked out. I hope it works out for him. I hope he plays so well that we can't sign him, because he goes a max contract, and that means we do good this year. Not the only news, though, Gerald, that we got as far as Suns that were on the roster last year.
Yeah, the Suns guaranteed Nick Richards' $5 million salary over the weekend. His deadline date was over the weekend, so they took care of that. So his $5 million is officially on the books right now, which means he is tradable potentially. You look at the number of centers that they have, it feels like something's got to give there, either with him or with Osue Ighodaro. And there are plenty of teams around the league that could use a veteran backup caliber big like Nick Richards, especially at only $5 million. That's a pretty great price tag. So something to keep an eye on. I think a lot of the activity here in free agency for the Suns early on might veer more towards trades than actual signings. But they also are releasing Cody Martin. Gambo reported it first. I had a source confirm it that, you know, today was the deadline date for when his contract was either going to be guaranteed or they had to get rid of him. So his $8.7 million is off the books. It moves the Suns a little bit closer to ducking a second tax apron, but they still have work to do. Namely, we're kind of all looking at the Bradley Beal situation.
Either of those moves a surprise to you, Steven, either guaranteeing Nick Richards' salary or releasing Cody Martin?
Nope. Pretty much in alignment with what I was expecting for them, especially early on and immediately following the draft.
Counted as one on the alignment tracker.
Can we get like a little bell? That we
I think. Well, there is a bell over there,
like a SERP, like for service.
There's a bell. Oh, look at that! We have an alignment alert popped up on the screen. Heck yeah! Well,
keep your finger on that. Hope you got the hotkey ready. Just press the button.
All right. Well, we have a super chat. We have a look at the Suns roster, their cap situation. We have a lot more to get into. It's about to be free agency. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a break. When we come back, free agency will have started. We're going to break down who the Suns could sign, who we want them to sign, and so much more. Don't go anywhere. It's a free agent frenzy, even if there might only be one signing. Listen, you get in a frenzy right now for Mountain America Credit Union because they have a rewards credit card where you get double the points on your purchases now through July 31st. It is perfect for their more than 1 million members through their 100 branches throughout the West when they're buying things like gas, grocery, travel, home projects, diapers, and so much more. It's an easy way to stretch your dollar when there's not that many easy ways right now to stretch your dollar. You can redeem your double points for things like travel rebates, gift cards, event tickets. So when the Suns are in the NBA Finals, you can redeem that on a flight to get your butt to an away game. Listen, it's a limited time only. Take advantage while you can on these double points on rewards credit card purchases now through July 31st. Make sure you get your details at macu.com/double. Loans are on approved credit. Offer can change exchange or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. Get double the amount of points at Mountain America Credit Union. And usually when I tell you about APS, I tell you about how you can save money with their smart thermostat, adjusting to the time of use plan to make sure you're not spending a bunch, since about half of your energy costs come from cooling and heating. I'm going to tell you another reason right now. I was laying in bed over the weekend and I did not want to stand up to turn my AC down. And so what I did is I grabbed my phone and I pressed the down button on it, and it was cooler in my house and I didn't have to burn a single calorie doing it. There's a lot of reasons why you should get a smart thermostat from APS, and APS customers might be eligible for smart thermostats for as low as $0 when you enroll in the APS Cool Rewards program. If you're not sure how to install a smart thermostat, free install also available at APS Marketplace. And if you've already got one, see if it's eligible to enroll in Cool Rewards. Find instant rebates, discounts, special offers on smart thermostats, energy efficient appliances, and so much more at marketplace.aps.com. You must be an APS customer, pay shipping and taxes. Other restrictions apply. Go to marketplace.aps.com for more information. It is officially that time, so hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Whoever signs as a free agent, whoever stays on the Phoenix Suns, whoever they trade for, we're going to break it down and we'll give you live reactions here. We're a minute in. Has anything happened
There's
yet?
literally not a thing.
You know, I'll tell you what, before we get to specifics, doesn't it kind of suck that like free agency basically already started like 3 days ago? And it used to be like right at 3.
Right. Like I understand wanting to give teams the inside track to negotiate with their own free agents. We knew that was already happening behind the scenes anyway. Can't we just wait to report this stuff until, like, I do miss when 3 o'clock would hit and it'd be like 2:59 and everyone's gathered around the computer. We are almost 2 minutes in and there's not a damn thing that's being reported. Also, like, the new CBA kind of killed free agency.
Yeah.
Like, look at this year's free agency class. A lot of guys have a lot more incentive to just re-up and sign extensions ahead of time before even hitting free agency. When's the last time like a star player was available in free agency and signed elsewhere and it was like a big deal? It feels like it's been a minute.
It definitely has.
I can't even think of a name.
Like, they usually just re-up with their own team or they force a trade before they even get to free agency. So it's like,
Remember when free agency used to have the same anticipation as deadline day?
I remember when free agency meant something.
Yeah.
Thanks, CJ.
Paul George last year. Mario Not Bros 2 says Paul George last year picking the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
That wasn't even, but he didn't do it like immediately, right? There was some anticipation and buildup, right? That came a little bit later, right?
I can't even remember.
I don't know if there was anticipation.
But even that, like, he sucked this year. So it's like,
free agent frenzy. Okay, there are some other things that we can go over here as we await the eventual frenzy that we are kind of expecting. Let's go ahead and get to a super chat from at Street Addict 1, also known as my father, says, thoughts about the Ishbia call on video. If you didn't miss it over the week, or if you did miss it over the weekend, there was a video surfacing of Clutch Sports agent Rich Paul, who represents Khaman Maluach, on the phone with Matt Ishbia, talking about how would you feel if he fell to 10. Personally, I felt like people were overreacting to this. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
I did too. People were inferring that because he said he would be my number one choice, it was him that was doing the scouting and all this stuff. Like, he's the owner on the phone call.
You don't think the owner talks to the most powerful agent?
You don't think he's aware of who is on his GM's draft board and who the Suns would want to take?
I mean, Steven, obviously you're a level-headed guy, and so you don't really overreact to anything. But how did you feel when you saw that video?
I was like, everybody's having this Leonardo DiCaprio, oh my God, point and look moment. It's not that, guys. This is very standard procedure here. Like, we don't have to turn everything that we are grown privy to into a think piece.
Yeah.
It's not that deep, y'all.
I mean, and listen, I guess I understand that, like, with what's been going on around the Suns and Matt Ishbia and hiring Brian Gregory, who has the ties to Michigan State and the ties to him as well. Like, I understand why it might be a red flag to some people who are looking for reasons to doubt. And listen, I get it. I personally am not going to overreact to it. I'm not also going to sit here and think that, like, Matt Ishbia is not an involved owner. I've never thought that, right? But so far, I think Brian Gregory has done a decent job. And you know what? If it is Matt Ishbia making the moves, I've been relatively happy with them recently. So I don't really care who makes the final call as long as I'm happy about what the call is. And if I get if talking to Matt Ishbia as the GM gets a maybe top 5 to 7 prospect to fall to 10, then I'm okay with Matt Ishbia being the general manager of my team.
Nobody cares about process. They care about results. Like if the Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal trades had actually worked out, no one would be like when they happened, everyone was praising Ishbia for how involved he was, for pushing the KD trade across the finish line. And now it's the exact opposite, like condemning him because, oh, look what he did, this meddling owner. You guys don't care about process. You care about whether the moves are good or whether they're not. So honestly, spending too much time debating this anymore, I'm kind of sick of it because like he's going to go up there and he's going to say, I'm not scouting these players. I'm not like researching these players' pros and cons and strengths and weaknesses. I leave that to the GMs, to the scouts. I recruit where I can. I'm involved in that. I'm always going to be involved. And people are going to read into that and take what they will from it. And it's your right to do that, to be fair. But like, you guys, the two sides are never going to see eye to eye on how involved he actually is. So there's not even a point in wasting time on it.
Yeah. It was funny seeing all of the Meek Mill, I used to pray for times like this tweets once the KD trade crossed the finish line.
Right.
And then how things have so quickly spiraled to the opposite side of the spectrum on that. It's like, guys, you can't have both.
Yeah, and Espo in the chat making a point saying, hell, it's good to have an owner that Rich Paul is willing to talk to after the disgraced former owner told his client Earl Watson to fire him or be fired.
It's a very good point.
Listen, if there's one agent that you want your owner to be close with, it's Rich Paul, who also represents Rasheer Fleming, by the way. And I think he might represent Nick Richards as well. I'm not sure on that one, but I know for sure Rasheer Fleming, and of course he has LeBron James. We'll get to some more free agency stuff here in a second as we're waiting for some more deals to come down. We do have some are calling him the unreliable source. Ari report saying that D'Lo is going to the Mavericks. We'll see. We'll see.
That was something that Mark Stein was reporting was probably going to happen. So that's.
But nothing official there yet.
Some of these sources.
Yeah. If true, then that means that's one less viable suitor off the board for Chris Paul for the people that are interested in him coming to Phoenix.
And trust me, we'll get to Chris Paul here in a second. But we also want to let you know why it's unlikely for the Suns to make multiple additions in free agency or big splashes. But before we do that, I also want to remind you to get your alignment shirt today. This just dropped last week. I mean, Gerald, we didn't get your thoughts on how sexy this shirt is, but I want to give you the floor to gush over it.
I like that word gush, but no, it's a great shirt. I love it. We're very much in alignment about how awesome the shirt is, and it's been a while since we've had a new shirt, so this is exciting. This is a great time to become a diehard. You get your choice of a free shirt when you sign up. Are we still doing the sale?
I don't think we still have the sale right now, but you can still become a diehard today. Plus, you can get all access to Gerald's article, including an article on free agents that you wrote today. Usually when you write about free agents, it's like, oh, it doesn't have a big shelf life. Who knows? But now it might have like a week-long shelf life. But why would the Suns not be able to sign a ton of players? Let's go ahead and just take a look at the salary cap and the roster, Gerald, and where the Suns stand as of today, June 30th.
Yeah, so as of right now, if you include Collin Gillespie, and if you assume that the 2 second-round rookies, Rasheer Fleming and Koby Brea, are going to sign standard contracts, which we don't know that for sure yet, but if they are, the Suns have 14 players under contract right now. Obviously, the big question is about Bradley Beal, whether they trade him, and if you trade him, you have to take back salary. Does that fill up your roster spots, or are you able to buy him out and stretch and waive his contract? At that point, then you would have another open roster spot. But Beal leading the way with $53.7 million. Then we got Devin Booker, Jalen Green, $33.6 million for him. Dylan Brooks coming in $21.1 million. We've got Grayson. We've got Roy Still. Those guys had been kind of floated as trade targets, but now I think Gambo has said he's expecting those guys to be back next year. So kind of backing off of that stance a little bit. Mark Williams coming in at $6.3 million. That's pretty good value for him. Maluach, his rookie scale salary is probably going to be around $6 million as the number 10 pick. Nick Richards, we already talked about his contract being guaranteed. He could be a traded guy. Ryan Dunn, Collin Gillespie, his $2.3 million is an estimate. Oso Ighodaro, and then Fleming and Brea, if they are signed to standard contracts, you negotiate those salaries with second-round picks. It's not like a fixed scale like it is with first-round picks. And then they have 1 open roster spot, 3 two-way roster spots open, and they're about like 13, 14 million away from the second tax apron.
Well, there's one spot, and that means the Suns basically have one player to target in free agency, more or less, unless there's some maneuvering, some trades, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, Steven, has been at the top of a lot of people's minds, and we have Chris Haynes reporting that CP3 is deciding between two former teams, the Los Angeles Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. How do you like a potential Chris Paul reunion in Phoenix?
I think it makes a lot of sense in multiple respects. I think it makes sense for Chris, as far as the minutes load that the Suns could presumably offer him. It also makes sense for the Suns to have someone, like I mentioned before, to help expedite and even make it more smooth of an integration of Jordan Knott and the offensive side of the ball in particular, implementing all of the principles and the styles of play that he wants to get established. Should give like a ×2 or ×3 multiplier in terms of expediting that process and bringing along the players with that as well. And then there's also the maybe arguably more important part of it, and that's the intangibles, the leadership part, the professional part, the everyday approach part, all of those little things that I'm not going to say did not exist last season, but they didn't exist in the capacities that they did when Chris was here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think all of those things matter on top of the skill that he brings to the court, which is someone that was 6th in 3-point assists last season.
Absolutely. I think Chris Paul is kind of the best case scenario if you are of the mind that the Suns need a point guard. I don't know that he would come in here and start necessarily, and maybe that's a deal breaker for him, because I think you look at the moves that the Suns have made and bringing in Jalen Green as one of the main pieces from the Kevin Durant trade. I know a lot of people want a point guard. Get Devin Booker a point guard, put him back at the 2. I don't know that that's happening. Like we saw what happens when you stick an undersized point guard in the lineup with Devin Booker and another shooting guard. There's just not enough size. There's not enough defense. And I'm sorry, Chris Paul at age 40 is not taking the primary defensive matchup anymore. So I think Chris Paul is a guy that would be perfect because he could come in, he could be one of the best backups in the league in setting the table, in putting Devin Booker at the 2 for stretches of games, in getting the most out of Mark Williams or Maluach or whatever big he's paired with. But he could also be a spot starter if Jalen Green is injured, or if one of your 17 shooting guards goes down at any point in time. Chris Paul can fill in for you. So yeah, he's a bad defender. Yeah, he's not the best shooter anymore. He can't create his own offense quite like he did when we last saw him here in Phoenix. But he's still an elite floor general, playmaker, and basketball mind who can direct a lot of these guys around. And this is a much younger team that could really use that type of vocal leadership, kind of kick your ass, get in shape type thing.
Well, and a first-time head coach. And by the way, if you just watch us on YouTube, which we appreciate all of you that do, we also post some audio exclusive stuff. And this weekend I was telling Ayrton, I was like, I'm just going to fire up the microphone. I just laid down in bed and riffed on Chris Paul for like 10 minutes straight. And for a lot of reasons that I won't follow up, because a lot of the points that you guys brought up kind of echo what I think. To sign Chris Paul right now is not a contention move. Right? If this team was on the verge of contention and they were missing a piece, I don't know if I would want Chris Paul at 40, given his slights or whatever it might be.
Right.
But the stats, 8.8 points per game, 7.4 assists per game, which, by the way, still top 10, top 7 in the league, 7.4 assists per game, 3.6 rebounds. He shot 37.7% from deep, 42.7% from the field, 92.4% from the line. And the most important stat, he played 82 games for the Phoenix, not for the Phoenix Suns, I wish, for the San Antonio Spurs last year. The stats for Chris Paul for a vet minimum contract, I think, is a home run. Plus, you look at a lot of the young guys that the Suns have, whether it's like a Maluach who needs a lob thrower for when he rolls to the rim. There's a good fit there. Would you guys say that he is your number one free agent that you would want the Suns to target, or are there other names that you would want?
If he's not 1, he's 2 for me, because I will concede that, like, your point is very important here, that like this is not a move to contend for a championship next year. Like the reason the Suns got rid of him in the first place was because they couldn't rely on him to stay healthy, and they needed a starting caliber guard to be healthy to compete for championships, to make playoff runs. They miscalculated on who they brought in, obviously, but like Chris Paul couldn't be relied upon. ask the San Antonio Spurs people what Chris Paul did for their organization this season, even though the team didn't win a ton of games, how important he was for their younger guys. We need to accept that, like, this team, even though Devin Booker's in his prime and wants to compete for championships, is not currently a title contender. They're barely like a playoff team right now. If you add a guy like Chris Paul that has a proven track record of taking young guys and getting the most out of them and putting them on the right track, like, I think that matters for a team that's gotten significantly younger over the last week. Mark Williams is only 23. Like, he's been in the league for a while, and we think of him as an established player, but he's still young. Maluach, how big it would be to have a table setter like Chris Paul, Rasheer Fleming, all these different guys. Collin Gillespie, who they just re-signed, having a cerebral player like that get to learn under the point guard god for a year is really enticing to me. So it's almost as much about the vibes and the off-court stuff that he brings to the table as much as it is about what he would provide on the court as a backup.
Yeah. I want to keep diving into CP3. There's some super chats here. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other free agent names. Looks like we're going to have some room to stretch out and talk about it because nothing is happening in this free agent frenzy. Come on, CJ McCollum.
How dare you? There's a Jaren Jackson Jr. deal.
Oh, I mean, that's not small news. Wait, I'm extending with the Timberwolves, I'm assuming?
No, with the Memphis Grizzlies. Other Bear.
Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry, because it didn't clock to me that I said the wrong name. And then when you said no, I'm like, I'm like, you're way too calm for him being traded.
It's the other ferocious woodland creature.
Sorry.
Wow. The Grizzlies. So we got a 5-year, $240 million deal for Jaren Jackson.
That's a lot of money.
That's why Desmond Bain was the odd man out. I had to open up that wallet for a trip.
Well,
much earned for a trip, though.
No Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Timberwolves, but he is staying with the Grizzlies. We'll talk more about CP3, Jaren Jackson Jr., a bunch of other free agents the Suns could target. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Get your alignment shirt today. Over 700 of you in here right now on a free agent frenzy Monday. We're going to keep it rolling right after our second break. Listen, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary except for at the start of free agency, apparently. Thanks, CJ McCollum at Bet365. Listen, Bet365 has done a lot of things. They've pioneered live in-game betting. They offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. I'm serious. You could go check out Bet365 in the middle of the night and you could bet on like badminton in Russia. It is crazy. Would I recommend doing that? Probably not. But what I would recommend doing is if you have not opened an account yet, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. I love Bet365 and I love Empire Today because here's the thing. If you're making these big life decisions, let's say you just signed a new deal with the Phoenix Suns and you're moving back to Phoenix and you need to get a new house. You don't want to go to these box stores that have all these cookie cutter floors that are going to make you do all the work yourself. No, you want to be taken care of. You want flooring experts to guide you. And that's what Empire Today is going to do for you. You can have an in-home estimate, and guess what? Installation, you don't have to wait weeks. You don't have to wait months. Hell, you don't have to wait a year. You can have next day installation after your free in-home estimate. And they're going to make sure the right flooring matches your home, your business, your apartment complex, whatever you're renovating, with all of your details. Again, it's not cookie cutter. And you can schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better off at home. And PHNX listeners can receive a $350 off discount when using promo code PHNX. That's right, a $350 off discount when using code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit empireday.com/PHNX for full details. Shout out everybody in the chat hanging out with us. Shout out to the over 700 live on YouTube. Y'all checking in on YouTube after the fact, listening on audio as well. We appreciate every single one of you. It's been quite the 8 days in Phoenix Suns land, to Kevin Durant trade, to free agent quote frenzy today. Let's get into some super chats and let's keep talking about Chris Paul because it feels like it's the hottest name on the market. Mark with a $2 super chat says the timeline guys said the Spurs were 10th in pace with Chris Paul on the court. Is pace a concern for you guys? Like, let's say this. What's the number one reason why you wouldn't want the Suns to sign Chris Paul?
Probably just the need for a 4, honestly, because I think if you're bringing back Collin Gillespie and you want him in a bigger role, you kind of have that point guard situation taken care of. But for me, looking at the roster, like I would rather have one less center and one more point guard just in case Gillespie gets hurt again. Then ditto for Chris Paul. I would like to have Gillespie just in case Chris Paul is not able to be an Iron Man and play 82 games again at age 40. That's probably my biggest concern. I obviously like the defensive end. He's going to be more of a target at this stage of his career. He can't create his own offense quite like he used to. Like the midi pull up was a big part of his game here and the threat of that. But like I said, the playmaking and the being able to direct some of the younger guys and help them with their early careers outweighs all of that for me.
Yes, the pace part, yes, absolutely. Suns were 25th in pace last season. Jordan Knott wants to play an up-tempo style. Can't get to the benefits of the deemed process of offense that he wants to run if you're playing at a bottom third pace.
Right.
That's an immediate conflict of interest. You put Chris Paul in, and for the 15 to 20-ish minutes that he might play on a nightly basis, that's one thing you won't have to worry about. You'll also likely see an uptick in possessions that you gain when he's on the court too because of his ability to still find a way to get steals in some capacity. And the other big thing for me, it's crazy to even say this, for players that ran at least as many pick and roll possessions that he did last season, including passes, he was 8th in the league. And there were 21 players that ran as many pick and rolls as he did. Only players that ran better pick and rolls than him, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, Darius Garland, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Jalen Brunson.
Bums.
That's
pretty good.
And again, this guy's 40 years old.
And this is that. But this is also like 20-ish% of his schedule going without Victor Wembanyama.
And I mean, and again, he played with the Spurs as well, which is a young team. They weren't a great team. Wemby's awesome.
Not have the best shooter
right?
around either.
But read off just the teams of the guys that are ahead of him, right?
New York Knicks, Denver Nuggets, Cleveland Cavaliers again, hint. Oklahoma City Thunder, Milwaukee Bucks, Indiana Pacers.
All much better teams than the San Antonio Spurs, right? So that plus the fact that, it's funny we joke about like the vegan stuff, right? But he takes care of his body really well. And again, I'm not asking him to play 82 games. Hell, dude, I would just want Chris Paul on this roster in general just to mentor people. We have another super chat from Buddha the Schizo. What's up, Buddha? Says, hoping this super chat helps us get a good free agent. Well, no luck on the Suns end just yet, but we do have some more Memphis Grizzlies news, not Minnesota Timberwolves news, Memphis Grizzlies news. Restricted free agent Santi Aldama has signed a 3-year, $52.5 million deal to return to the Memphis Grizzlies. How do we feel about that deal? What was it like $14 million a year? $18 million a year? I can't do math. $18 million a year. For Santi Aldama, who's a good player.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. It's a good deal, I think. I think he was one of those guys that you were looking at like, okay, can a team come in and kind of swoop in and steal him away? Grizzlies took care of business. 18 million is a pretty decent amount for Aldama, but it's not horrendous. I think I'm going to urge you to bear this in mind now, and especially as we approach a Devin Booker contract extension coming up in the next couple of days or whenever it happens. Don't look at annual salary figures. Look at them as a percentage of the salary cap, because the salary cap is going to continue going up and up. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're saying they're paying $50 million or $40 million a year for this guy. Just look at it as a percentage of the cap. It'll make a little bit more sense that way.
Yep. But you want to keep some continuity around for your new coach, which they're going through the same thing that the Suns are.
Yeah.
While also going a separate direction with a piece that was important to everything that pre-existed this new coach. So these things matter. You want to keep some continuity around. And he's a piece that still makes impact for them as well, especially as a reserve. So good bit of business on the Grizzlies side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other news from around the league. Jake Fisher says the Kings are planning to meet with Malcolm Brogdon. That's such a Kings move.
If you play point guard, we want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, apparently from Chris Haynes, Kings also talking to Dennis Schroeder and Russell Westbrook. All right, so what we are going to do here is let's take our final break, and when we come back, let's look at some other free agents beyond Chris Paul as far as who the Suns could target, because they only have one spot. It's going to be competitive, and maybe Chris Paul doesn't want to end up coming back here. What about other names like Amir Coffey, DeAnthony Melton, Russell Westbrook, Spencer Dinwiddie? We got all of them, and we're going to break them all down right after our final break. I'm a lucky guy. I am not afraid to say it, because when I need gas, I need to travel all but 30 seconds from my home to a Circle K. And the reality is, I'm not the only one just like that. No. Circle Ks are next to everybody. But it's not just the convenience of Circle K. It's also the fact that you could save money when you join a free membership program. That's called the Inner Circle. It's easy to download and easy to get enrolled. Then use your phone number to score Circle K deals. You got to put your phone number, your email in, and that is it. By the time this ad read is over, you could be saving money, like 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents off per gallon every day after that, plus plenty of other member-exclusive deals and discounts like 79-cent Polar Pops, 99-cent Frosters, deals on Ghosts, Gatorades, Celsiuses, so much more at Circle K. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for full details, and I'll tell you, the jalapeno kettle cooked chips are phenomenal. Also phenomenal, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Our good friend from the Diamondback Show, Derek Montilla, spent his weekend there, and I got to spend a weekend there about a month and a half ago, and it is amazing. Whether you want to go for the sporting events and watch those, put some money down on the sporting games, whether you want to go for a nice meal, whether it's from the Prime, the Shula Steakhouse, or so much more, from upscale to casual, they have it all. Plus, they have poolside. They have fantastic, wonderful hotel rooms that you can stay at for a nice little staycation. And of course, a state-of-the-art gaming floor, and you can also go just for the experience of a concert or a show, which they have plenty of as well. Listen, me personally, I love the gaming floor. I love being by the pool, despite what my complexion might say. But the only thing is, you gotta do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You like that one, didn't you? That one made you laugh, huh? You know what doesn't make me laugh? Gila River, because I don't joke about it, okay? This is serious. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
You strike me as a guy that would like to stand by the ocean at night just to warn the other ships to be careful.
Yeah, no. So here, it's a great side gig, right? Is like, I get to stand on the edge of the ocean and I guide these ships in. And honestly, you know, I appreciate it because I feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world. Am I grumpy today? Girth Jr. says I'm grumpy today.
Think so.
I don't think so. I think I've been okay.
Nah,
I mean, I've been called the Debbie Downer like twice in the last week on this chat. So
well, Gerald, you know, you've been quite the cynic lately. Okay, so we've talked about Chris Paul. Let's get to the rest of our super chats here, and let's talk about a bunch of other free agent names that there are. The South Said It says, is there a world where Braun wants out and Beal would go to LA? Also, Chris Paul should come back as a backup and backup only. We've seen the Braun stuff. I'll be honest with you. It's like an annual tradition here. LeBron to Phoenix? If he forces his way here, I think Bradley Beal, in theory, would accept going to LA to play like aside Luka. But Steven, it's all like hypothetical, and yeah, it's like playtime.
Yeah, it's very much an annual tradition at this point. Still don't believe it actually happens. Would be fun if it does. But yeah, that's probably as far as that goes.
I'll tell you what, man, I'll be so
hypothetical.
Thrilled. Gerald, if we could turn Bradley Beal into LeBron James.
I don't think they even have a first round pick to trade. So it'd be like, enjoy Bradley Beal and a pair of second round picks. LA. Maybe we'll give you Ryan.
Nick Richards, give us Bronny James. Deal.
Maybe they would do like a separate deal, like a Ryan Dunn or an Oso for someone that makes barely anything.
Dude,
I don't know. But
if Brian Gregory, or some people like to call Matt Ishbia, turns Bradley Beal into LeBron James,
build the statue.
Listen.
And align it with Devin Booker.
Listen. Okay. Let's talk about some more realistic options. We talked about Chris Paul. Let's kind of just go down the list here, Gerald. A lot of these names, if not all of these names, you can find on your article over at gophnx.com, which is going to have a shelf life because nothing is happening in this free agents frenzy. Maybe that's why I'm a little sad.
Yeah.
Let's start with Trey Lyles. I think that's a name that Steven and I have not really dove into while you were gone. What do you see in Trey Lyles, and why would you want him here?
To be honest with you, this would kind of be underwhelming, but this would address your need for a little bit more size at the 4. Trey Lyles is a stretch big. He did not shoot the ball particularly well last year. I think he was only at 34%. But the year before he was at about 38%. He's 6'9", serviceable bench piece. Numbers have been down in Sacramento the last few years. So this would not really blow me away. But if you're looking at realistic targets in that, vet minimum to maybe mid-level exception range. The Suns, if they do get off of Beal's contract with a buyout, could potentially duck the aprons, free up the MLE. As a tax-paying team, it would be around $5 million. Maybe he's a guy in that range, but again, this doesn't move the needle very much for me.
Yeah, it's definitely not a needle-moving move. It's more of an insurance type of move. I imagine they entertain this if Oso is moved elsewhere in any capacity, because Trey, at his best, is a switch big off your bench. I like that he spent 41% of his minutes last season at the 5.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, 1% off of what would have made his career high of percentage in minutes at the 5. So,
well, we do have one potential target that I had put on in my article as an MLE guy.
He was up next in the rundown, Gerald.
He was up next. Dorian Finney-Smith, according to Shams, is signing a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Houston Rockets.
Man, I think the Rockets are going to be good.
So the fact that they did not give up Jabari or Tari,
and they get Dorian Finney-Smith,
and they essentially replace Dillon Brooks with Dorian Finney-Smith, while also adding Kevin Durant.
Not bad.
Good bit of business down there.
Yeah. Let's just move on from that.
They're cooking.
They got him for less than the full MLE. Too.
Yeah, and that's a year-by-year decrease for Finney-Smith as well. He opted out of what, like $14-15 million?
$15.4 million player option, but he did get,
he got more years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Houston, that defense is going to be disgusting.
I mean, they better hope his shooting holds up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how much of a team aligns with him as much as
Hold up. Shams dropped a nickname in a tweet.
No.
Shams. Yeah, it's him. Shams says, free agent center forward Paul Reed, a.k.a. B-Ball Paul, has agreed to a 2-year, $11 million deal to return to Detroit. Okay, throw a little sauce on it, Shams.
That's another name that we are no longer.
Yep, throw a
little sauce. Okay, well then let's keep going through names here. Somebody in the chat asked, are we looking for a needle mover or a minimum? What if I could say both? Gershon Yabusele, if for some reason he's willing to take a minimum contract after taking a minimum last year to play with the Philadelphia 76ers, he would be an awesome signing. He was, Steven, the first name, along with Chris Paul, that we talked about here on the show.
Yeah, it was obviously us speaking projectively on what we maybe could imagine the roster turning into. I will say, though, after the Suns doing what they did on the first night of the draft and the second night, especially going to get Rasheer Fleming, I don't know if I see as much of a need for Gershon, but he does still check off the box of getting a 4 that I've been kind of pushing for the Suns.
Let's take a look at Gershon's stats here. Good stats, Gerald. 11 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists per game, shooting 61.6% from the field, 38% from deep, just about a steal per game. I think he'd be your certified starting power forward.
I think so. I think he had a tremendous year. I think he's got size, physicality, strength. Obviously, the 3-point shooting is great. Like he would be a good 2-way fit on this team. Unfortunately, it sounds like he's either going to re-sign with the Sixers or the Spurs are going to be his main suitor. Which, man, that would.
Yeah, I would say that out of a lot of these names, this is probably the least likely that I would assume to sign with the Suns. Even though there's definitely a need there, he'd have a starting spot. He'd have playing time. I do think those stats are slightly inflated due to the 76ers injury status from last year, but he is somebody that I think will not be willing to take a minimum unless it's the only thing offered. He's going to be trying to get his money because if I remember correctly, he actually took a pay cut to come back to the NBA from playing overseas. So I do think that that'd be interesting. Looks like the Memphis Grizzlies make another move. Cam Spencer agrees to a 2-year, $4.5 million fully guaranteed contract. So that'll be a movie when him and Kevin Durant face off, Rockets Grizzlies, because he likes to get in his head, but not a major move for Memphis. So Dorian Finney-Smith is off the board. Paul Reed is off the board. What about another for the Suns could target as we do a free agency frenzy here? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Look at that. We have almost 800 of you in here on a Monday. We hate you, CJ McCollum, for making this not as interesting as it should be. But could the Suns get a Larry Nance Jr.? Let's go ahead and take a look at Larry Nance Jr. stats. 8.5 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, 1.6 assists per game, 58% from the field, 44.7% from 3. About a steal per game as well. Steven, how do you like his fit in Phoenix?
Larry Nance is always I mean, he's on the first team, almost Suns, or first team should have been Suns, first team.
Yeah.
For the last
true.
like 4 to 5 years at this point.
Shout out to his pops.
Facts. Similar to the Trey Lyles point, I don't think he's an impact type of guy. If the Suns are bringing him in, I think he's just another depth kind of piece to where you hope that he stays healthy, and then if you have to press the button on extending his minutes, you can do so, and he'll be at least a neutral piece for you when he comes into the lineup. But another switch big, they can space the floor a little bit, do some things for you defensively, be a connector. All those little things you want to find.
I like Nance a lot better than Lyles for me.
For sure.
The biggest issue is that he's coming off a season where he only played 24 games, so there's the injury component of that, but he's been fairly healthy outside of that. He's a guy that defensively I like him better than Lyles. And I think he shot the ball pretty well recently.
Yeah.
He's made at least 41% of his threes in each of the last 2 seasons. So I feel like he's not moving the needle. But again, we're talking about vet minimum guys and mid-level at the taxpayer level. You're probably not going to find someone that moves the needle for you drastically outside of like a Chris Paul that we've talked about.
Yeah. Some people say don't get another 5. Larry Nance, with his ability to stretch, I believe, can slide into that 4. I think he could play alongside Mark Williams. He could play alongside Maluach. He could still be a center as well. I think he's very solid, a little bit on the older side, but not too old to the point where I would avoid him. Mm-hmm. But the shooting aspect, having a big established big that can shoot, because right now really the only quote big that you have that could shoot is your second round rookie and Rasheer Fleming. I like that filled by Larry Nance Jr. I think he could be a spot starter for you, but not somebody that you want to have, guarding in space, switching out on the perimeter and running a lot of your offense through. But again, Stephen, we're talking about veteran minimum guys here.
You could do a lot worse than Larry Nance Jr. on the vet minimum for you, for sure.
Yeah. I like shooting. What about shooting at a wing position? How about a little coffee in the morning? A shout out to Amir Coffee, who, of course, is linked to Devin Booker because the Denver Nuggets put his picture up when introducing Devin Booker however many years ago that was. This is what his stats were for the Clippers this last season. 9.7 points per game, 2.2 rebounds per game, 1.1 assists per game, shooting 52.9% from the two-point land, 40.9% from deep, 89.1%. I'm assuming that's going to be free throw percentage, not field goal percentage. Played for the Clippers.
At least he was shooting it.
Yeah. Played for the Clippers, Gerald. Almost 10 points per game, a knockdown shooter. This is somebody that in the modern CBA, I really do wonder how much money he's going to command. And that's something you touched on in your article.
Yeah, I think the Athletics' Law Murray was kind of answering questions about Coffee's free agency market on Twitter. And he was saying he thinks there's a good chance that he leaves LA just because he might have played his way out of the Clippers price range in terms of what they'd be willing to bring him back for, saying maybe somewhere in the biannual exception or taxpayer mid-level exception. And a lot of these guys we've covered recently are probably pushing closer to that taxpayer mid-level exception. But again, you never know. We thought Tyus Jones was way out of the Suns price range last summer, and he wound up having to settle for a vet minimum. So you never know how the market is going to kind of shrivel up and die on you there. He's listed as a shooting guard on that graphic, but he is 6'7", so you could slide him over to the 3, and defensively, he's a pretty committed guy, so he should be able to fare well there. He doesn't address your need for plus size at like a 3-4. He's more of a 2-3 than a 3-4, so that's kind of my one hang up about him.
How do you feel about him, Steven?
He'll be a nice piece. I think he gets after it defensively. He was very, very seldomly, and I mean seldomly used in the playoffs in particular for the Clippers. I think some of that comes from them actually getting healthy, which naturally lent itself to him playing more minutes in the regular season to naturally play himself out of the contract. But he will be fun. I think you and I were both high on him as a role player.
Sure.
And I think the context of shots that he's going to be asked to take and make with the Suns and play out of, he naturally fits hand in glove with too.
And you mentioned earlier, Gerald, the fact that Gambo's reporting that Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal could be back, or he's expecting them to be back with the Suns. I also think, though, that if I had to choose between those 3 players, Amir Coffee, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, I'm taking Amir Coffee right now. So if you can trade Royce or Grayson and you can get maybe a 4 for one or both of them, if you're able to get into the second apron with any Beal deal or anything, I would like Amir Coffee to slide in that role. I don't think it's a crazy upgrade, but I like the youth and defensive versatility of Amir Coffee a little bit more than that of Grayson and Royce. So I don't think it's like a crazy difference. I think you can get pretty much similar value out of those two. But if I'm splitting hairs, I'd take him.
Interesting. I'd probably rather have Grayson, but I do just because the shooting is on a different level, and I'm not sure that Coffey's is going to necessarily sustain itself at 41% clip. But I do value the defensive upgrade that he would bring compared to
a little more
Grayson.
size, a little more.
Yeah.
How would you feel if you had to choose between those three?
Well, I would. Shocker. I would want to see how the rest of the roster shakes out.
Stop hedging.
No,
dog.
but seriously though, because if you get enough defense around and you need the prowess of Grayson Allen and the 3-point shooting and the movement 3-point shooting that he brings for you, as well as his screening.
Yeah.
If you get the guard group together and Bradley Beal's not on the roster anymore, I can see where Amir Coffey would be valued over Grayson. But I think it's those two at this point as far as 1A and 1B.
Yeah. Some more news here. Sham Shranga says the Memphis Grizzlies and Cole Anthony's reps at Excel Sports are working towards a resolution that allows Memphis to create the necessary cap space to renegotiate and extend Jaren Jackson Jr. while giving Anthony the opportunity to find his next destination. Would you be interested in trading for Cole Anthony?
No.
No interest.
None.
Steven?
No need for his style of guard on this team.
Yeah.
No team that would be interested. I know a team that would be interested.
I wanted to push it a little bit, but yeah.
Sacramento.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
Sacramento.
yeah, that screams Sacramento for sure.
Holler at him.
Cole Anthony, you are a king.
Cole Anthony, you are averaging 17 points per game for the Sacramento Kings next year. Okay, how about a different guard? This one, of course, still a free agent right now. We like retreads. How about more of them? De'Anthony Melton, come home, my king. Last season, he put up 10.3 points per game across the Nets and the Warriors, 3.3 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 40.7 field goal percentage, 37.1% from three, over a steal per game at 1.2. Steven, it feels like if he's on the court, De'Anthony Melton would be a great fit in Phoenix.
Yes. Golden State last season sorely missed his presence at the point of attack.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, this is a team that finished, I think, top 10 in defensive rating ultimately, and they were like top 4 after the Jimmy Butler trade.
Yeah.
If they had him, they probably were talking about maybe making the conference finals because they just didn't have anybody that could guard at the point of attack. If he was to stay healthy and came to the Suns, he's a player that can play 2.5 different positions.
Mm-hmm.
And defensively, he can certainly play 3 positions. That would be a hit on the margins that would certainly help with everything that I imagine Ott wants to do, which is attack first, second, and third defensively.
Yeah, this is a needle mover for me in terms of we have slim pickings to choose from. Yeah. This is a guy that we've been talking a lot about. Okay, if Devin Booker does have a point guard next to him, it needs to be on the defensive end, not the offensive end, because you can have Booker play on or off the ball offensively, no matter who's next to him in the backcourt. Defensively, who is going to take the burden off of him or Jalen Green or Grayson Allen to have to take on the toughest defensive matchup in the backcourt every night? Melton could absolutely do that. Like, he is a long arm dude. He's a point of attack specialist. And like you said, Steven, the Warriors, it was only 6 games that he was out there, but he was great in that time. And he's been doing that for years now. The problem, obviously, is that he has not been able to stay healthy over the last couple of years. Only played 6 games last season before the partially torn ACL, I believe. Year before that, it was 38 games. But he is a 3-and-D type of guard. He's drastically improved the 3-point shooting throughout his career. I will continue to list this guy as a trade target, a free agency target for the Suns.
Come home.
Because if he can stay healthy, he's a legit, and his value's probably lower because of the injuries.
Yeah, I think this is a buy low opportunity here. Yep. I mean, the vet minimum doesn't scare me as much. Like, the injuries don't scare me as much because, again, you're investing a vet minimum in him, right? Ideally, if he's on the court, he fits perfectly. Would you rather have a healthy De'Anthony Melton or a healthy Chris Paul? Let's just say it's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year vet minimum deal. There's no guarantee they stay on the team beyond that. So neither of these guards will be here while the Suns are quote unquote contending. 1 year vet minimum, Chris Paul, De'Anthony Melton. Who are you picking?
I'm taking Chris Paul.
If it weren't for the injuries, I would take Melton. And I know you're saying we're guaranteeing the health, but I got to factor
I didn't say that.
So I'm okay.
I said they're only guaranteed to be here for 1 year.
Okay, then I'm taking Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think if you're taking who is the better player, turn injuries off 2K style in a vacuum right now, I think it's De'Anthony Melton. But the thing is with Chris Paul, he might not have the defense, but he does have the passing. Mm-hmm. And again, my investment on Chris Paul right now, I think a lot of people who are against this are like, don't retread. He's too old. He's not good. Like, that is not why I'm signing Chris Paul. Mm-hmm. I'm signing Chris Paul to invest in these young guys, right? And to build them up. And I like De'Anthony Melton. By all accounts, a good guy. Come on home, my friend. Not even 30 yet. Like he
27.
He's a
crazy.
valuable.
That's insane.
He's a valuable player for sure. And if this team were contending, my answer would be different. I would pick De'Anthony Melton because I think in a playoff series he could actually hold up. Speaking of holding up, we're not going anywhere. We're holding up right here. It might be an hour into the show, but we're still going to be going live, reacting to, of course, all the recent news and everything coming down for free agent frenzy. Thank you, CJ McCollum. And to the over 800 people who are live on YouTube, thank you. To those of us watching on TV, might I remind you, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. Which means it's time for overtime. Also on gophnx.com, we have Gerald's article. And if you want to read all of Gerald's article, you can become a die-hard today. Oh, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Jake LaRavia to the Lakers.
That's
on
a good deal.
$12 million deal.
I think that's a good deal for the Lakers. I like Jake LaRavia.
I'm going to be really upset if they use what's left of their mid-level because they have the full to get Melton because he has been reported as a target of theirs. So if they get LaRavia and Melton with their
MLE. Is it LaRavia?
Yeah.
That's so much better than LaRavia.
Well, I think it's LaRavia. I don't know.
I'm going to go LaRavia sounds cool.
LaRavia?
It's either LaRavia or LaRavia.
I think it's LaRavia.
I think it's LaRavia.
Is it LaRavia?
It's okay. LaRavia sounds way cooler, though. I'll tell you that. I'm gonna roll.
I'm just saying it like Spanish. Like, is he not Spanish?
Lavente los
He's pretty
manos.
white, but
if you know what I'm talking about, and there we go. Okay.
Yeah. If they ended up with LaRavia and Melton, and also probably did the Deandre Ayton bit of business.
Yeah,
that is a very good bit of business from the Lakers on day one of free agency.
Now they're out of the market for a shooting
and they
guard.
did a good job in the draft as well.
Damn it! This kill. I could make the short right now. The Los Angeles Lakers just killed the Bradley Beal to LA idea. Okay, let's keep it rolling past De'Anthony Melton. You don't want a guard? How about a forward? How about Taurean Prince? Taurean Prince, I think, would be an intriguing pick for the Suns. Let's see what he took a look at. Let's take a look at what he did last season for the Milwaukee Bucks. 8.2 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 1.9 assists per game, shot 49.2% from two, 43.9%, let's call it 44 from deep, a steal per game as well. Gerald, this would also be your starting power forward if you can get him for a vet minimum.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about outplaying your contract value. Last year, he was another guy that kind of had to settle for a vet minimum deal, even though we thought he'd probably be more of a mid-level guy. And he played like more of a mid-level guy last year, just with the shooting, with the defense. He was a starter on a Bucks team that ultimately kind of wound up floundering there, but that was not his fault. He played his role. 6'6" wing, so he doesn't have necessarily the size as a forward, but he has the strength, he has the defense. And on a vet minimum or mid-level deal, that's pretty good value if you were able to free up the MLE for a guy like that.
We got a little bit of conflicting news.
What's that?
So Shams said LaRavia to the Lakers.
Uh-huh.
As of now, Chris Haynes said LaRavia to the Kings.
We have a source off!
Oh, man.
Oh, this is electric!
I'm wondering if there's a typo involved.
Oh, yeah. Who
hasn't
made the typo? Because both
delete.
graphics have him in a Kings uniform, but obviously he played for the Kings last year. So
who's gonna delete?
Oh,
Shams has been Mr. Delete My Tweet lately, so it's still up. Oh, this is legacy hours for Shams and Haynes. This is what we've been waiting for.
There's a new version of Chris Haynes. And it says
Lakers.
LaRavia to the Lakers with the asterisk.
God, how awesome would it be if Haynes just stared down Shams? Because different teams is crazy.
Not
different
band for
reporting.
band, source for source.
Source for source. I like Chris Haynes. Respectfully, I'm going Shams.
Absolutely.
Source for source. Okay, more thoughts on Taurean Prince. I think he is he's like your only stretch four option that's consistent, reliable. I think a great mentor, if we're talking about mentorship with guys like Chris Paul, great mentor for somebody like Rasheer Fleming for somebody like Ryan Dunn, one of these forwards that can make their defense their calling card, but develop their offensive game over their career. I think that would be, if I could choose a forward here, he would be one of my favorites along with Gershon for the Suns to get. It does feel like a little bit of a pipe dream though, considering how he played last season.
Yeah, I think he played his way out of that vet minimum price range. So if you're the Suns, you probably have to free up that taxpayer MLE to get a guy like that. Not out of the realm of possibility. We don't know what the plan is with Beal and how far they are into that plan at this stage. But we're going to be exhaustive in covering all these options.
Yeah.
So.
Over 800 of you in here while we're covering all of these options. Suns have still not made a signing. It's basically been the Memphis Grizzlies show here in free agency as well.
They confirmed the Collin Gillespie.
That's true. Yes, the Collin. Yes, but I don't see that happened before the show. I'm talking like
something. Damn
I
it.
want.
You're talking about
something.
since we went live.
Yeah,
It didn't count. It didn't
live.
count until we went live.
We went live. Nothing counted. Obviously, the Rockets signing Dorian Finney-Smith, Jake LaRavia, depending on how you want to pronounce it, to the Los Angeles Lakers. Cole Anthony is on the trade market. Paul Reed, B-Ball Paul, as Shams Charania so gracefully called him, going back to the Detroit Pistons. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, the Jordan Harden use.
Jordan Harden, yes.
Also
Arizona
Jordan
State
University.
Arizona State legend Jordan Harden. Okay.
Also Jordan.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. You want a big name?
Yeah.
How about this big name? Welcome. You went from the Bowler coaster to the Russell Westbrook coaster. Let's take a look at what he did last season for the Denver Nuggets. Well, Gerald, you're on it at least for the next couple of minutes. 13.3 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists per game. And you think to yourself, on a vet minimum contract, could you get any better value? 44.9% field goal percentage, 32.3% from deep, 1.4 steals per game. Gerald, are you on the West Coaster or not?
No, I shouted, "Get me off!" before the ride took off.
On a vet minimum for this team, you think he has? There's no reason why the Suns should entertain this.
No, I will say I'm being a Debbie Downer because I do think Westbrook impressed people last year. I think he provided more value than I was thinking and that a lot of people were thinking to the Nuggets last year. Obviously, he brings pace. He had some big moments in the playoffs. He also had some moments in the playoffs that really hurt them. And I think the shooting is a liability. I think the defense is a liability. I think the tunnel vision can be a liability at times. He is not the point guard that when I think, okay, the Suns need an extra ball handler, they need somebody to, help run the offense or to put Devin Booker at the 2. That's not the guy that I think of to do that job. I understand what he would be able to provide for the Suns in terms of playing faster and in terms of just being, he's an electric guy that comes off the bench. He's a shot in the arm, good or bad. I just don't think that's necessarily what this young team needs in a table setter at that spot.
He'd be your starting power forward, basically, more or less. Are you out on the Westbrook experience in Phoenix, Steven?
Yes, I am now. With the way that the roster is kind of trended towards going, I'm not in or rush with the Suns. Their roster doesn't really match what he's going to bring to the floor right now. He needs a floor, not a floor spacing necessarily, but a playmaking big man. That's kind of a primary hub type, which is why
Igodaro.
Which is why I feel like rush to Sacramento makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes, the shooting, but if Sabonis is playing point guard more often than not, he can kind of play in the post a little bit more, play off of handoffs, do the stuff that made him good with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that you could talk about with Chris Paul as far as like leadership, got that dog in him, like making sure everybody's held accountable. I do think that Russell Westbrook brings that. And again, if we were going to contend this year or trying to put together a contending roster, I would not want Russell Westbrook. Now, is he my top option? No. Is he a top 2 option?
Also no.
I could talk, shocker alert, I could talk myself into a little Russell Westbrook action here just because you want a veteran, you want somebody who's got that dog in him, somebody who's going to be going nonstop. I think he'd be fine. Clearly the numbers, I get that the Westbrook experience is up and down. I literally remember watching the Nuggets playoff run, and whenever he had a good moment, I'm like, well, bad moment's got to be happening any moment now. And I fully accept and understand that. That being said, for a vet minimum contract, I don't think it's the worst value in the world. I wouldn't love it. I'm not asking for it, but I do think that there is some value that a guy like that could bring to a team that's kind of in flux right now. So I'm not all aboard the Russell Westbrook chain, but I'm more aboard. I'm thinking about buying a ticket. You guys are taking the plane.
I'm being dragged behind it forcefully against my will.
It's just me dragging you. Okay. We don't have to talk about Russell Westbrook anymore. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have Russell Westbrook than this next guy. Yuck.
Okay.
Spencer Dinwiddie, the guy who called the Phoenix Suns ass. Does he come?
He was right.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
He was right.
Join the ass,
That was,
Spencer
to
Dinwiddie.
be fair, that was the best quote graphic we've ever made.
Yeah, just quote ass. It was great. I don't like Spencer Dinwiddie. It's a personal beef. Put him in the Janai Broom.
Come on,
not
in the broom closet.
Yeah, put him in the broom closet. No. Spencer Dinwiddie, 11 points per game, 2.6 rebounds per game, 4.4 assists per game, 41.6% field goal percentage, 33.4% from deep, just about a steal per game. Now, here's the thing. Those numbers are probably heavily inflated because whenever he played the Phoenix Suns, he dropped like 50 and 15. And if you're on the Phoenix Suns, Steven, you can't play the Phoenix Suns. But are you pro Dinwiddie over Westbrook?
Well, I was talking with Gerald about him. Like, if he's going to be shooting the way that he typically has the last handful of seasons when he is in PHX Arena, bring him on.
Right.
He's got to. It's like seeing
energy,
red.
Though.
He's got to see it on the other side of him. Like I don't know.
And he also has to remain available for his team too.
I just don't like the guy. I don't really have other analysis there. I'm sure he'd be fine. And again, I talk myself into it.
We don't like anybody until they come here, and then we love them.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks.
Let's be real. We've done this with Grayson. We've done this with Dylan. A lot of people did it with CP3.
I like CP3.
We can talk ourselves into anything if we have enough time to kill.
You know what, Gerald? Talk me into Spencer Dinwiddie.
He was good for the Mavs last year.
You know what? I'm sold.
See? There we go. There you have it.
No, I'm kidding. Seriously, talk me into
but
it.
he was good last year. He played on a vet minimum for the Mavs, like 11 and 4.5 assists. That's pretty solid. He didn't shoot the ball very well, but he brings plus size to the point guard spot at 6'5", can play on or off the ball, which is something that you want in a potential backcourt partner, whether they're sharing the court with Beal or Booker or Grayson or Jalen Green, whichever shooting guard is out there. He could be had for cheap, and there are worse options out there in terms of guys that have proven to be productive on a vet minimum deal. So not crazy about Dinwiddie at all, but he's solid for that potential value, especially if you do need another ball handler to bring in and you strike out on like Chris Paul and some of these other options we've talked about.
Fine.
Leo poses a great question for Eric and Eric only.
What? Where is it?
CJ McCollum came.
Oh no, dude! I don't know, man. I don't know. That would test.
No,
that
because
would test
all
my
he would
soul.
do, all
that
he
would test my soul.
All he would have to do is do one press conference where he self-deprecatingly makes a joke about the CBA.
You know what? I'm all about accountability. I'm all about 2 A's: accountability and alignment. Okay, and if
there's one more A, appearances, he can pull up on the podcast.
And then if you add Spencer Dinwiddie, there's another A. Ass.
No.
If CJ McCollum goes hands up, I ruined the NBA and I'm the reason for the Phoenix Suns downfall, then fine. You know what? Fine. I'll roll with it. But it's going to take a lot for me to be team CJ McCollum, especially as he gets older in his career. We have a couple more names we're going to go through here. We're going to stay live for you. Gerald's going to hop off. He's got some articles to write, a baby to take care of. You know how it goes in just a couple of minutes. So, Gerald, before you go, let's run through a couple more names here.
Sure.
Campaign.
Yeah.
Bring back the vibes. Let's just roll it back, right? Chris Paul back, Valley jerseys back, Campaign back as well. Let's get both of them.
I love Campaign. Love the pace he plays with. Probably would not be crazy about a reunion. I don't necessarily like the fit with this team because I think he's more of a score first guard. He can facilitate. And I wouldn't be opposed if he was brought back, just because of the pace and the shooting and the scoring and all that and the vibes. Like, let's be honest, like we need the vibes again.
Yeah. Beyond the vibes, Steven, this is what Campaign did on the court last year. 6.9 points per game. How about that for vibes? 1.4 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 45.3% from 2, 36.3% from deep, just about a half steal per game. Where do you see Campaign as far as in this NBA? Is he your go-to backup point guard? Is he your breaking case of emergency guard?
He's now in the light that he was in before he came to the Suns and in that first season. And that's more of a tweener between 2 and 3 in terms of option at point guard. If he's your number 3, you're probably in a good space. If he's your number 2, probably want to be in a better spot than that. And I think it's evident in the Knicks playoff run this past season. have some injuries, have some players that are not playing well. He comes in, has a couple of spark moments in that first round series against the against the Pistons, excuse me. Shout out Noah. And he provides some impact, no different than he did for the Suns, just in a lot slimmer of a capacity.
Yeah, I'm okay off this. I'm good. I'd rather, honestly, and this may make people mad, I'd rather have Russell Westbrook than campaign.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
I feel pretty solid about saying that.
That's crazy.
Dude, listen, man, I'm not saying Westbrook is like really good, but come on a vet minimum, I'd rather have Russell Westbrook than campaign.
Okay, if I'm gonna have somebody who gets downhill, who's out of control, and who isn't the most efficient shooter, I'd rather have it be a fan favorite than Russell Westbrook. I'm just gonna say that.
I don't. And somebody said, "Ruby, what are you smoking?" Nothing, brother. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. I get it.
Russ was good.
He was
in
good.
spurts.
He won the Nuggets playoff games this year.
And he also lost them.
Okay, we're not going to be in the damn playoffs, so it's fine. Again, we're not competing.
We do have some news. Trey Jones, 3-year, $24 million deal to return to the Chicago Bulls.
Something somewhat decent the Bulls did, maybe. At I'm Steve Dyer with the $2 super chat said, "That's disgusting." Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Hit that like button for my disgusting takes and everything else. About 900 of you in here right now. Thank you all so much. Okay, hit that like button. A couple more names before Gerald goes types away. Markelle Fultz, huh? How about this? Lakers could add a number 1 pick. Let's add a number 1 pick of our own, baby. This is what Markelle Fultz did last season for the Sacramento Kings. 2.9 points per game, 1 rebound per game, 1.3 assists per game, 40.7% from 2, in 8.8 minutes per game, 21 games played. Man, I will tell you this. I was high off this dude in college.
Yeah.
I thought he was the truth. Obviously, Gerald, not the same guy.
No.
And I don't know if I would really like the Suns to sign him.
No, this is the buy lowiest of buy low candidates because he barely played for the Kings last year, barely was on the court. And when he was on the court, it was less than 9 minutes a game. So the production was what it was. That being said, he's 27, good size, good length, defense. I wouldn't be thrilled about this. This would be the ultimate like prove it type of vet minimum addition. But the Suns do have a type in terms of getting younger, in terms of adding more size and length. So felt the need to mention him. He's probably near the bottom of the guys that we've talked about thus far just because of the risks. But again, at vet minimums, all of these guys are risks to some degree.
Let me ask you a sad question, Steven. Is Markelle Fultz's NBA career over?
No, because they'll have an opportunity probably in case of injury for somebody. Somebody needs someone that's available. It's going to be, and I hate to say this even more than Markelle, but it's going to be between him and like Dennis Smith Jr. type guys.
Hey, Ari Report getting it right. Sham Sharang is saying breaking free agent guard D'Angelo Russell has agreed on a 2-year, $13 million deal. Of course, Mark Stein obviously been putting that out for a while now. But
did a very good job of regurgitating what Mark Stein said.
D'Lo, 2-year, $13 million deal. Thoughts? Surprises?
They needed a stopgap for Kyrie being out. D'Lo's fine. I don't know. The Mavs will be a good team. I don't think they'll be a great team.
Yeah, needed a guard. I think he could do well insulated in their forward center heavy rotation. He's gonna probably take a lot of shots. That's the D'Lo way. What are your thoughts, Steven, on a new addition to the Mavericks?
It's about what I expected. Like I said earlier in the show, if he's going there, that means that's one less suitor for Chris Paul. I imagine they were privy to that news prior to free agency starting, which is why Chris Haynes reported that Chris Paul is choosing between the Suns and the Clippers.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense there.
All right, one more name before we get you out of here, Gerald. Trendon Watford.
This is a guy that we've talked about a couple of times in the past as a vet minimum free agency type of guy. He's 24 years old, 6'8", power forward who does have some ball handling and playmaking ability. He's not going to be your primary guy. He's not like Ben Simmons or one of those other point forwards, but he's got good size, good length defensively. Just averaged a career high 10.2 points, 3.6 rebounds, and 2.6 assists a night. Only shot 33% from 3, but 51.5% overall. These guys are all kind of buy low candidates, but he's younger. He's got decent size. He's got an intriguing skill set, I think, that could be developed in a different system outside of Brooklyn, maybe a little bit more competitive players around him. And I don't know. I don't think he'd be your starter necessarily, but he would be in the running for it. And that's kind of all you can hope for if you're looking at vet minimum guys.
Yeah, I like Trenton Watford. I think he can have some impact. He is a player that has to prove it in a winning situation.
Yeah.
And that matters for sure. But for what he was able to do with the situation he was in with the Brooklyn Nets and all of the moving pieces around there, I think he could be a piece that will surprise people in terms of the impact that he does provide. I think there's some buy low dice rolling that could happen there.
I love the signing.
I think he's no different than like a Delano Ben type where we're saying he's a buy low.
Buy low, invest on a kid at 24 on a vet minimum. Best case scenario, he's your starter. Worst case scenario, he's some depth and some Rasheer Fleming insurance. I would love this signing. He is near the top with me. I think if I'm going with a forward that it's like dream scenario, it's Gershon Yabusele for sure. Beyond that, he might be number 2. Gerald, before you sign off, who is the number one person that if the Suns sign, you walk away and you're happy?
Chris Paul or DeAnthony Melton. Those are my 2 names.
All right. Make sure that you read Gerald's article up on gophnx.com. Let's go and take a look at Chris Paul's stats here really quick as we reset here on PHNX Suns. We appreciate Gerald, of course, doing so much for this entire program. Chris Paul on the San Antonio Spurs this past season, 8.8 points per game, 3.6 rebounds per game, 7.4 assists per game, shooting 42.7% from the field, 37.7% from deep, and 1.3 steals per game as well. Let's also reset a little free agency here. Ooh, some breaking news from Shams Charania. Wait a second. Whoa! The Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first-round pick to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Cam Johnson. Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? How do you like that for Denver?
I love it for Denver.
I think that's awesome for Denver.
That's a major move because everything that they've wanted from Michael Porter Jr. defensively start there. Cam Johnson provides and then some. In addition to that, the shooting. He's more consistent on the offensive end. He has less of taking the ball out of Jokic's hands, or Jamal Murray's hands, and more of playing off of the attention that those players get. He's a hand and glove fit for them. That is a move that immediately puts them right back in the Western Conference Finals type of race.
He's gonna play so good for them.
Yeah, if they had him, tell you what, I put it like this: if they had Cam Johnson this season against the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going back to the finals. They're going back to the finals.
Oh my gosh.
That's how big of a move that is for them.
Oh, that kind of sucks, honestly.
Yeah. That's tough.
I'm literally tweeting from our PHNX Suns account. Tough. Take care of him at DNVR Nuggets.
That's tough.
Man. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That blows. That's a funny comment though from Pazouz McGee. I'm not reading that. Don't put that on screen. But that's a very funny comment. That sucks, man. I really do wish that he found a way to be back here in Phoenix. I know a lot of people we're kind of against that. And we have some more breaking news here. Look at that. All we had to do is get Gerald off the show. Shams Charania, free agent guard Ty Jerome, another former Phoenix Suns, has agreed to a 3-year, $28 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies. How do you like that deal for Memphis? Getting off of Bane, retaining Aldama, extending Jaren Jackson Jr., signing Ty Jerome, and then also putting Cole Anthony on the trade market. Very active offseason for the Memphis Grizzlies so far.
Yeah, very, very, very active. And that's what Ty Jerome is. I don't know how I feel about him with Memphis, though, because I just can't imagine being able to play him and Ja at the same time.
We talked about this, I think, before the show. I don't love the Memphis fit.
I don't know.
I mean, is he going to go to be a backup off the court?
First and foremost,
like he's going to be a backup, right? He's not going to start.
No way he starts with Ja.
No way he starts.
But, I mean, Isn't that the same role that he just got done playing with?
I guess he just makes more
Cleveland?
money though, right?
He makes more money, but it's the same role that he just got done playing with Cleveland. While I'm kind of talking through it mentally, spending time. I didn't imagine lineups with him and Darius Garland would work all that well, and it turns out that they did.
Yeah,
he has a big behind him that's defensive player of the year caliber, and they can do everything on offense and defense, no different than Evan Mobley. So I see the context now that I'm talking about a little bit more. It makes a little bit more sense, especially in particular if they're looking to at least contend in some capacity next season.
You're basically taking what is a Desmond Bane max contract, and you're breaking that up into Santi Aldama and Ty Jerome, more or less. Ty Jerome off the bench, pairing with what Memphis has. I mean, this is Memphis saying, like, we're still going to try to compete, right? This is Memphis not saying we're going to retool. We're going to still try to compete in the Western Conference. I wouldn't say I love the deal. I'm happy for Ty Jerome, but let's kind of reset here because two big things happened all at once. Free agency started off today with Jaren Jackson Jr. agreeing to a 5-year, $240 million maximum renegotiation and extension with the Memphis Grizzlies. Then the Memphis Grizzlies followed up and signed free agent Santi Aldama to a 3-year, $52.5 million deal. Then Dorian Finney-Smith goes to the Rockets on a 4-year, $53 million deal. B-Ball Paul goes back to the Pistons on a 2-year, $11 million deal. Cam Spencer, 2-year, $4.5 million fully guaranteed contract to the Memphis Grizzlies. It was also reported the Grizzlies are expected to trade Cole Anthony and work with him. Jake LaRavia has agreed on a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. According to Fred Katz, Dennis Schroeder will agree to sign with the Sacramento Kings. That's an interesting deal for them as they need a point guard. Trey Jones, Tyus Jones' brother, has agreed to a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Chicago Bulls. Another point guard, D'Angelo Russell, 2-year, $13 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks. And then recently, the Denver Nuggets are trading Michael Porter Jr., an unprotected 2032 first-round pick to the Nets for Cam Johnson and Ty Jerome, 3-year, $28 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies. What's the biggest surprise and the best move for you in free agency so far?
Well, it's definitely the Cam for
surprise.
Michael Porter Jr. trade.
Is that the biggest surprise and the best move?
It's the biggest surprise and it's the best move. And for me, it's because you look at everything that Denver is already, everything that they were with Michael Porter Jr. when he was at his best. Someone that's a little bit more consistent on the offensive end, someone that gives you more optionality in terms of being able to go off script, where Michael Porter Jr. would struggle to put the ball on the deck. The biggest growth point for Cam Johnson this season was that he was able to put the ball on the deck viably, whether it be straight line drives, whether it be drives where he's kind of weaving through a defense and getting to the cup and finishing, or is creating for himself from deep. He just shot north of 40% on off the dribble 3-point attempts this season. And for players that put that in tandem with also having the defensive successes that he saw this season, he was operating in a space where it was only him and Anthony Edwards knocking down pull-up threes at that clip while being as viable as they were on the defensive end. Yeah, that is not something that you just stumble into. That's him intentionally working and building his game out.
I think also underrated in all of this as well, and a couple people, including Gerald, have pointed this out on Twitter. By the way, we'll stay live here for another 10-ish minutes, and then Cardinals has got to come in here. But don't worry, if some breaking news happens, we'll be going live, so you know where to go, right here, PHNX Sports.
Burning question for you.
Oh, excited for that. Subscribe, hit the like button, don't go anywhere, buy our alignment t-shirt, become a diehard today. Any other shameless plugs? Steven had a great film study breakdown on Khaman Maluach over the weekend. I talked to the other Steven over at No Ceilings about all of the rookies, and he said that he had Rasheer Fleming top 12 in the class. So those are two things if you missed it over the weekend to check that out. Plus an audio only episode on Chris Paul that I recorded on Saturday. And then Gerald's article at gophnx.com. Wow. We
kept y'all busy.
We off season who?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do.
Good point that everybody's bringing up is that the Nuggets got a lot smarter too. Michael Porter Jr. is kind of like in basketball terms, dumb. Some other questionable takes as well from Michael Porter Jr. off the basketball court. Cam Johnson, if you hear him speak, is one of the smarter, more eloquent guys. And, I highly recommend Espo and I got to catch up with him at the Kyler Murray softball game. We have that interview right here at gophnx.com. Your burning question, Steven.
My burning question for you.
Okay.
And this is on the spot, so take your time to think it through. We can talk about it.
I don't take time. I also don't think
this is very true.
Hey, that's rude.
You
Okay.
just called it. Never mind.
Hey, on the Sun Devil show, my nickname is the stupidest guy alive, or the
That's
dumbest
wild.
guy alive. Sorry, I'm too stupid to
That's
remember.
wild.
Anyway,
Is Cam Johnson the best number 4 option?
yeah.
In the NBA.
I mean, who are the other number 4 options, right? Jared Allen, because Garland, Mobley, Mitchell, Allen.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if you would put Garland 4th. I think the Cavs are in that conversation.
Cavs are in that conversation. Oklahoma City,
but like,
there's
4
number 4
I don't know
would be Caruso, Hardenstein type guys.
Yeah, Caruso and Hartenstein's interesting. I think I take Cam over them right now.
Minnesota would be probably
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo.
I think Gobert's better than DiVincenzo right now.
Right.
So probably DiVincenzo. Boston, if they're fully healthy, probably.
Well, no, number three in Minnesota would be Naz Reid.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. 4 would be Gobert. But in terms
Gordon
of,
is the 4th
player for
option
player,
now.
but in terms of the impact that they're providing to the team in the spot that it needs to be its best self.
They're saying he's going to be a 3rd option in Denver, and that Aaron Gordon will take
usage,
a back
usage,
seat.
He's not going to overtake Aaron Gordon, but in terms of
scoring,
probably, he would for sure. Yeah, but I'm talking about in terms of usage.
Another deal, $11 million 2-year deal for Kevin Porter Jr. Shouldn't even be in the league, but sure, get your bag, I guess. With the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll be out of here in the next 5 or so minutes. Wow. Anything else?
That deal is crazy, man.
Yeah, it's a good deal for them, man.
That's the shock value move so far for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Didn't know they had that one in the bag, but they're setting up David Adelman for great success in his first full season.
They are. I mean, and that's the first big move of their front office. They're double GMs, and I think a lot of people in Denver and our friends over at DNVR were a little worried about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to pass along an update from Flex, who said that keep an eye on trades for the Suns more than free agency. So that's definitely something that we'll be keeping our eyes on here. No Chris Paul yet, no D'Anthony Melton yet, some other targets, no Gershon Yabusele next, no Russell Westbrook, no Dinwiddie, no Payne. Dorian Finney-Smith has signed, no Taurean Prince yet. I'll ask you the same question I asked Gerald. One name that you're walking away from. And you're saying the Suns use their one roster spot, their one free agent signing to the best possible ability. It would be?
Only 4 free agents.
Only 4 free agents.
It would be Chris Paul for me. And it's because for everything that last season was and for everything that last season lacked, I can talk about all of the skills, the cerebral IQ. I can talk about pick and roll points per possession, catch and shoot efficiency, mid-range shooting to balance out a shot profile. I can talk about all of these player dynamics that he brings to the fold. Because he's 40, they'll all have impact, but none will trump his culture bearing and the way that he'll establish that and help Jordan Knott going into this upcoming season.
Free agent Bruce Brown Jr. has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, they are absolutely doing it.
I mean, now they're automatically vaulted themselves back up to contention for the number 1 seed in the West.
2 reasons they lost, and mind you, this is in 7 games with the Oklahoma City Thunder. 2 reasons they lost: did not have Michael Porter Jr.'s full facilities, and also not having him do the things that they needed him to do on the defensive end. Cam Johnson addresses that directly. They also struggle to guard at the point of attack. Christian Brown guarding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not ideal, but if you have Bruce Brown, now you can kind of burden that a little differently than you did in this past series with the Thunder. That looks a lot different. Not saying Bruce Brown is Andrew Nembhard, but he has that similar style of impact, especially if he's not the only one that's doing it.
Yeah, Bruce Brown Jr., Cam Johnson to the Nuggets. Cooking. They definitely are cooking. It'll be interesting to see if the Phoenix Suns do anything. As of right now, that is an absolute no.
The other big thing, between the ears, Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson.
Way better than Michael Porter Jr.
Very smart pieces, but it's Michael Porter Jr. and Russell Westbrook.
Right, yeah.
That's a different
I mean,
hit.
those are 2 on-the-court guys that make you scratch
hit.
your head a little bit. Ayrton, who's your number 1 free agent prospect that you want the Suns to target?
I think Chris Paul's the obvious answer just because of leadership, and our team's so much younger now than we were when he was here the first time, I think. I mean, you saw what he did in OKC however many years ago. You saw what he did last year in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, we would love him.
I'd agree. I put Gershon in there. I think Gershon's better for winning now. than Chris Paul. But Chris Paul is a long-term investment. Look,
it's the same conversation we had 4 weeks ago too.
It is. Hey, and guess what? That means for those of you that have been following along this whole time, you know that we've been on top of this over at PHNX Suns, and we'll continue to be on top of it, whether it's with our shorts that bring you live in-the-moment updates on the biggest breaking news that's happening with the Phoenix Suns. Girth Jr. asked in the chat, will we get a breaking news show if the Suns sign somebody? Hell yeah, you're getting a breaking news show if the Suns sign somebody. So don't go anywhere. Make sure that you keep in mind what we got going on here. Apparently, Shams is letting more things fly. Let's try to keep everybody up to date here. Kevon Looney, 2-year, $16 million deal with the Pelicans. What are the Pelicans doing?
I'm not sure what type of gumbo they're cooking down there right now.
I don't know.
Derek Queen,
hey,
Kevon Looney.
Listen, I'll say this, though.
They got something going on.
People want to complain about the Phoenix Suns in their front office. Brother.
That's true.
Look at what's happening in New Orleans. All right, we're wrapping things up here. Keep it tuned to PHNX Sports. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you all so much. The amount of support that we've gotten over the last weeks, the amount of you that have been tuning in, we notice it goes a long way. It helps out us so much in keeping the lights on. So does hitting that like button. So does hitting that subscribe button. So does rating us 5 stars if you're on audio. If you do not check out our audio feed, again, we drop audio exclusives. And if you're listening on audio, we also drop video exclusives like Steven's breakdown of Khaman Maluach's game-changing defense. Of course, go to PHNX.com to read all of Gerald's article, become a diehard today, and complete the triple threat. Buy your alignment t-shirt as well. And of course, for those of you that don't know, we'll keep you updated at PHNX_Suns the entire time with the latest up-to-date news on your Phoenix Suns. That's on Twitter and on Instagram, so make sure you follow the show there. We appreciate Juice Man, a.k.a. Freckled Mamba, a.k.a. Ayton, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen on another banger of a show. Of course, you can follow Gerald at Gerald Board Gay. You can follow Steven. Call him Steve. Do not do that. Don't do it. At Steven PG3. That's Steven with a PH. You can follow me.
PH with the PH.
Because you balance this out.
PH.
And you can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We'll be back, psychos and sickos, tomorrow or for a breaking news podcast. Don't go anywhere.
We all silly like the mayor.